Today, we've got a question for you, and we want you to sit with it for a bit. We want you to think about the last 5 pieces of content that you've created for your business. And what were they supposed to do? What was their job? Not what topic they were, not what format. What job were they hired to do in your business? Because if you can't answer that, or if the answer is basically get more followers or show up consistently on my platform, this episode is really going to change how you think about creating content as a coach or a service provider. Honestly, it might sting a little bit, but we are all about the tough love over here.
So last week we talked about that soil layer. So the strategy behind the why, all of that stuff that comes before the creation, and ultimately why content fails most times before you even write the caption or slide number one. Today we're going to go one layer deeper. Once you understand what the needs of the strategy are, the next question actually becomes, now what is it supposed to do? And this is where we start to see even those really intentional strategic business owners get stuck. That's because they're just creating the content. They're just showing up and putting it in the effort, but they're never asking, what is this doing for my business? What is their content job? And one job isn't enough, right? Assigning a specific business goal to your content isn't enough to do the whole strategy. So, we're going to talk through today what the 5 jobs your content should be doing. And then we're going to break down the things that could potentially be keeping you stuck.
So let's go into the item number one where we see people get stuck or we've been stuck ourselves, and that is educational content by default. I think I see my clients do this a lot. A lot of them are dietitians, they're coaches, they're educators. So by default, that's their default mode to educate. That's where their brain goes. And it's not that it necessarily isn't the wrong thing to do. You do need to have educational content within your content ecosystem to build that trust, to establish you as the expert, to establish yourself as authority. But what we see most often is that when we go in and audit clients' businesses, we're seeing 100% educational content and no other content that is doing any other sort of job.
Yeah, and it's essentially trying to take a lead that's ready to join a discovery call with you. Let me explain to you this and this. It's no, just sell me. I want to know what I can buy from you. And so making sure you're not falling into that trap where one, you're not creating an opportunity for somebody to then take the desired action, but rather keeping them stuck in this loop of free information and all of that. And I've seen this on the flip side where inside of email lists, if you're curating your social or your top of funnel to be feeding just these kind of mindsets of, oh, she'll just post free content and super educational, it's really helpful. When you get on their email list or when they get on your email list and you start to then sell, your conversions are a lot lower because they're like, I'm just going to stay over here because I'm getting everything I need over here, kind of thing. So it's just important, that kind of shift of making sure that you're creating the opportunities for them to take that next step.
All right. So the beliefs or the thing that you're doing that might be keeping you stuck, number two, is focusing on vanity metrics versus conversion metrics. And we want to be careful here because it's not like engagement doesn't matter. You want likes, you want subscribes, you obviously need people to follow you and engage with you for social media. But doing it at the behest, is that a word? Behest of the job that your content is actually trying to do, it's just kind of just wasting time. We can jump on the viral trends, we can do the dancing, we can do all the fun stuff, but if it's not connecting to the ultimate jobs of your content, then it's kind of just wasting time.
Yeah, and I've seen this. If you go on your explore page on Instagram, you can see now all of the hooks that are trying to speak to this particular content, where this reel went viral versus this reel that got me 10 clients versus this reel that got me this. It's really when you're looking at your own data, you can probably start to see what actually is shifting, or you can hopefully start to see what's actually shifting those call numbers, the people that are booking things with you. It's not going to be the reel that gets 50,000 views. And most times I've heard the people that do get those reels that go off or those carousels that go off end up having to do so much more cleanup and narrowing down of their audience because the net was cast too wide versus a job was supposed to be getting leads and clients and all of that. So really making sure you're focused on the right thing and that the job of your content is honed in on conversion if that's the ultimate business goal here.
Yeah, yeah. So, for example, a reel that gets 50,000 views, like Rachel said, not going to get a lot. I keep going back to this quiz video because it's amazing. The quiz video that has brought me at least 4 different quiz clients right now only has 200 reviews on it. Doesn't have a lot of engagement, but it's attracting the kind of people that I want. And in essence, engagement and conversion are two different types of behavior. Engagement is social, and then conversion, you need to build that trust behavior.
The third thing that's keeping you stuck is that content without a CTA. People don't want to be salesy and really they want their content to speak for itself. I've seen the same thing with the clients who are posting that educational content. They really want to deliver value. And then I've noticed too, when clients come and hire me, they're like, I don't want to send 10 emails a day. I don't want to be spammy. I don't want to do this. That belief in your brain is really what holds you back. But when you look at yourself in the eyes of the teacher student dynamic, where your lead is coming to you to learn and to take their journey to the next step. And so the honest thing to do is to guide them to that next obvious step. My business mentor, Ashley, she always gives the example of bad sales versus good sales. And bad sales is that man chasing you around at the mall trying to straighten your hair versus just in order to sell you the hair straightener, versus the good sale is that person telling you the story about how their friend recommended this product and all of that. So there's the different levels of intuitiveness when it comes to it. So a CTA doesn't have to be buy this. It can literally be, hey, save this for later, send this to somebody who needs it, download this guide if you want more information. Those are all calls to action. And it doesn't have to directly lead to your product. It can guide to the next obvious step that is in your product awareness or in your customer journey and all of that. So really reframing that perspective is key, because we don't want to be that guy chasing people around with the hair straightener. We want to be that more intuitive, lean into this and take that next obvious step.
All right. So now that we've cleared out what is getting in the way of your content and what its job is actually supposed to be, let's get into what it's actually supposed to be doing. So we think there are 5 jobs that should be happening in your content ecosystem. And it's really important with an ecosystem, you need to have each one of them strategically placed so they can all work together and support and nurture each other, just a natural ecosystem. So number 1, you have the attractor bees in your ecosystem. And their job is to find people who do not know you yet. So this is like true top of funnel content that is designed to reach someone who has never heard of you or is up at night at 11 p.m. Googling the problem that they have or scrolling through Instagram and something that you say or your hook just stops them cold because they relate with that.
Yeah, and I think this is where so many people get the content working backwards, is because they have their attract trying to do their convert job. Those two things, it's essentially walking up to somebody on the street and being, hey, do you want to be my best friend? And they're like, I don't know you, probably not. So you really want to make sure that when you're looking at growing your audience, that you're creating a space where if they're coming in problem aware or completely unaware, that then there's a job for them to connect, which brings us specifically to our next job, which is building trust. So the second job after you've attracted the people is then to figure out how you can develop that trust with them. If they're coming into your space, like I said, completely unaware or maybe somewhat problem aware, they aren't really quite sure that you're the real deal for them. They're the stranger, and we're trying to make them into a follower. And then we try to get them to become a subscriber. And it's a very intuitive path that takes them from seeing your reel or seeing a YouTube video or finding your blog, and then into either somebody that lives on your email list, somebody that's now in your membership, whatever that place of call to action may be. And so I think this is where Jess and I have a very good episode about the trust economy. This is where we're living now, where we're living in a trust economy where somebody is not just going to give you $100 or whatever because they saw something that they think might change their life. They have to believe what you're selling, and that comes with trust.
Yeah, and that is where, I mean, a little bit of the education can live in case studies. You can really do this in any medium, whether you're doing it in email or in social or whatever, but it's usually a little bit more in depth where you're building that trust that you know how to fix the problem that stopped them in that attract phase to begin with. So the next job of our content is to shift the beliefs. So what are the beliefs that are keeping someone stuck, or what do they need to believe to be ready to purchase or work with you in any sort of capacity? Your ideal clients, they always have a reason why they haven't bought yet or they haven't tried to invest in a solution yet. And it's never, I need to see more tips or I need to know more about this. It's usually some sort of internal belief or barrier that is keeping them from where they are and where you can actually take them. Okay, so moving into number 4 is educate, but with a caveat. Educate using your unique perspective, method, framework. And this is really where you're going to stand out from the sea of AI generated content. Like, this is where you are going to put your unique perspective, point of view, contrarian point of view. This is what's going to make them
Mhm.
choose you over another, dietitian. This is what they're going to make them choose you over another email marketing service provider. For example, Rachel,
Mhm.
life first email marketing. So she's not going to be the hustle every day. We're working all the time. We're spamming
Yeah.
everybody's inbox. That's not going to resonate with the people that she's trying to attract. She has a very Rachel way of
Mhm.
approaching email marketing. And that's what she's going to educate on. She's going to educate on her unique beliefs, her frameworks, the steps she goes through, what she's looking for. And that's kind of where you're going to stand out versus somebody going into ChatGPT and just being like, give me 4 tips on email marketing. These are going to be
Yeah.
4 Rachel specific tips on email marketing for Rachel specific mistakes that she sees people make in email marketing. I'm really passionate about this one because I think this is where people get it wrong a lot.
Yeah, no, totally. Even if we're looking at there's a thread happening in the doers community right now, and it's, hey, I'm going on maternity leave. I want to create an email strategy that's going to be sustainable while I'm out. All of these different email marketers were tagged. And the question was, what formats do you like? What type of information? And I go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's reel it back. One, what is your audience like? What is your business goal while you're out of that? So the layering in is something that it could easily been like, send this tip, send that tip. Is that going to be useful or is that just checking a box? So we want to make sure that when you're educating, you're not just checking a box, but you're doing it in a way that is super educational into how they're going to work with you versus how they're going to heal their gut versus how they're going to do that. You bring it into your unique perspective,
Yeah, and I think this
which,
is also a really important layer where you can filter out those non-aligned leads, right? Because if you're talking about your method and your perspective, you want to be repelling some people because
yeah,
you don't want to get on discovery calls and be like, I don't know if I really want to work with this person, you know? If you're doing this correctly, every person that you get on a call with is going to be 100% aligned with you.
totally. So that brings us to our last and final job, which is conversion. And it's that content that really clearly invites that person to then take this next step with you. But it's not inviting everybody and anyone, it's inviting the people who are ready. Because we've all had those discovery calls where we get somebody on there and they're like, oh, actually, I don't have any budget. And it's like, oh, what do you mean? Why did you book this call? You were talking about how wonderful your services are. And it's, uh-huh. Therefore, you have to buy them. But this is where that social proof, the case studies, those client results, and all of that behind the scenes type process of sharing that out, it really does speak to the here's what's possible and here's how we get there kind of content versus just being, hey, book a call. That low effort, book a call, 3 spots left doesn't tell somebody why. It uses important levers like urgency and all of that, but like the real meat of it is explaining to them and allowing them to see themselves in your client results so that they can then ultimately be, yes, I want this 100%. So,
Yep. And this is where most people are under create in this category a bit because it feels really overly self promotional, but brag about what you do, brag about the
right.
results that you get. come up with a system to do case studies. When I started out, I definitely was very much lacking in this piece of content. And
Mhm.
once I sat down and intentionally started creating these pieces of content, my conversions went up because people that knew me knew I knew how I could get the job done. I get
Yeah.
referrals all the time, but I wasn't shouting it out to the rest of the world. You've got to promote yourself.
Yeah,
That's so
exactly.
hard.
Yeah, so I think what's most important is when you're doing your conversion content and you feel pushy, you have to lean and trust on the other foundations of the other four jobs of attracting the right people, building the trust, shifting their beliefs, and a little bit of journaling, a little bit of inner belief work as to why you feel this way because you run a business and you need to sell. So yeah, so I think it's just a little important to understand that it all builds on top of each other.
Yeah. And if you want to see this in action, in our episode last week, I shared 4 example videos of the content that I created to specifically sell Rachel and I's quiz funnel services. And each one was doing a different job, problem aware, solution aware, the method, the proof. And a year later, we're still getting clients from those
Yeah,
YouTube videos, which just shows when you take the time to intentionally create that evergreen long form content that we're so big of fans on, it really can help you build that sustainability in your business where you're not having to promote your services all the time.
definitely. Here is what we want you to walk away with today. I want you to do a mini assessment, a mini audit of the last 5 pieces of content that were either published on your blog or sent to your email list or posted on Instagram. And I want you to assess what of the 5 jobs that we broke down today, which one each post was doing. And a reminder that is the attract, the trust, the building, the shifting beliefs, the educating on your method, and then converting. And do a little audit on this. If they're all either one category, whether it's all attract, that's okay. This is just, we're all ingesting our own data here to then assess how we're going to do things differently going forward. The goal isn't to create the 5 different pieces this week. It's really to start just making more intentional decisions about the jobs we want our content pieces to do because we want content to work, right? We want to stop going through the motions, which is what's killing us and putting us on the treadmill here.
And if it sounds daunting because it is more content to create, just know if you do it correctly, you can cycle through this once a week. Well, that's kind of the framework that we like to do it in. And if you need any help putting this into practice right now, we do have a free guide which walks you through our rooted content system and how to create these soil pieces of content that are really going to build the foundational layer for your sustainable content ecosystem. Next week, we're going to be talking content a little bit more. We've got our new app, Content Sprout, coming soon. So if you want to have the option to beta test that or get that guide, that'll automatically put you on our wait list so you can be the first to know when our Content Sprout and rooted content system is ready.
Share this with a biz bestie, leave us a review, drop us a comment, send us a DM. We want to know, we want to hear from you guys. And until next week,
We're
we're
rooting
rooting
for
for
you.
you.